Now it's time for another Board Game Brawl preview with Nick Minahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com.
Hey now, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and today we're going to be taking a look at a game that is currently seeking funding on Kickstarter. That game is called Jailbreakers, Plan Your Escape, and it's from Cullis Games. Now, if you like what you see throughout the rest of this preview video, I'm going to encourage you to go to the official Kickstarter project page. I'm going to have a link at the bottom of the screen now and at the end of the video, and also down in the description section of the video. That will take you to the page. You can find out even more information and hopefully consider backing the project. Now, what is Jailbreakers? This is a competitive game where you have a group of prisoners that you are trying to get out of jail, hence the name of the game. But in order to do that, you need to get the right items together. First, you need to find the right materials to craft the items that you need for your escape plan, and then get out with each individual prisoner on your team. But of course, there are guards that you need to contend with in each of the different areas, and also other rival groups of prisoners who have the same idea as you, the other players. So let me go ahead and give you a brief look at how the game is played with a prototype version of the game, which means that some things may change in the final version. Then we're going to come back. I'll give you my final thoughts.
Alright, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of Jailbreakers Plan Your Escape. Now, as I just mentioned, this is a prototype version of the game, so you can expect that some things will change. There will be actual names and descriptive text underneath each of these character portraits. The dice, I tried to match up a couple of the dice with the appropriate colors, but the other ones I had to make do. So you'll have a different colored set of dice for each character, and so on. Little things like that. Now, this is a competitive game, and the goal is to have each of your inmates escape from jail, which is a little bit easier said than done, to be sure. This is a setup for a 4-player game. Now, as I already mentioned, each player is going to get a set of 3 prisoners, which with a 6-sided die that you associate with each of them. Doesn't matter what the die is on right now. Then you're going to lay out the 12 location cards. Each of the location cards is numbered, and each one of them has a special ability associated with it that usually has to do with getting different materials, like collect 1 metal or 1 wood, or collect 1 rope or cloth or tape, or over all the way up at the shower, it's collect any 2 materials, or steal a material card from another player. Collect 1 of any material, but you must give 1 of the same material to another player, and so on and so forth. Now, in addition to the location cards that you're putting out, you also have to put guard cards. And this is one of the things that changes based on the number of players. So for a 4-player game, you're going to have less guards. You're going to put 1 on the 6 spot and 1 on the 12 spot. If you were playing in a game with less players, I think you'd have to put 1 on the 3 and the 9 as well. And these guards are going to be rotating at the end / start of each round. They're going to be moving up 1. So this guard will go to 7, and then this guard will flip all the way back around to the 1 card. Now, I mentioned that what you have to do in the game is escape, and that's where the escape plan cards come in. You're going to have 3 of them available for you and the other players to work off of. Or, excuse me, actually, for this amount of players, you're going to have 5 of them that are available that are going to be face up. And these are communal escape plans, meaning that you and any of the other players can vie for these. And it's pretty basic. What's going to happen here is you're going to look at the card and see which items along the side of the card you need in order to make that particular escape plan work. So this one here is called He Did It. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to need rope, you're going to need a dummy, and you're going to need the brass knuckles, otherwise known as the knuckle dusters. Whereas, and you see that one requires 3 items, but there are some that are a little bit simpler than that, like this one here is going to require the grappling hook and the knuckle dusters. That one's called Why Punch When You Can Kick. But this one here needs 4 items, which is Why Do I Collect So Much Stuff? Which needs a shovel, a grappling hook, the dummy, and the nunchucks. And while we're on the subject, here are all the different items. You're going to lay these out at the start of the game, and again, the number of these that you'll have available will vary based on the number of players. And each of these cards actually, in addition to being able to be used for the escape plans, also has a special ability. So for instance, the worker outfit says that you can place dice on the space that's already occupied. The shovel says you can add +1 to your die roll, which can be really important. The grappling hook says that you can pay only 1 card in solitary confinement, which I'll get to all that just to go through the details. Then you have the nunchucks, which lets you re-roll a die, and so on and so forth. So they're important for a couple of different reasons to have. And as I already mentioned, when you go to the different locations, you're going to be able to take the materials that you actually need in order to make those cards. So you have wood, metal, rope, cloth, and tape. And at the bottom, it will remind you which types of items it can be used to make, just as a handy reference. The last thing I'm going to explain is the escape deck, and this is what you're going to have to utilize whenever you actually go forward with your escape plans. This deck is going to be made up of 10 cards that say success on the card and 7 cards that say fail on the card. So just something to keep in mind for now. So let's go through how a turn is going to work in Jailbreakers. You're going to decide randomly who's going to go first. And what you're going to do is choose one of your prisoners, and you're going to roll the die for them. And that's going to determine where you can put that. Effectively, you can think of this as your prisoner. How you roll the die determines where you're going to be able to place it in one of the locations. Now, I will point this out now, which it'll become a little important later as to, or you'll realize why this is important a little bit later as I go through the rules explanation. But you do not have to roll for one of your prisoners. You can choose to skip that and not take the action for your prisoner and put them out on a location card, and still get to do your other actions on a turn. You'll see why you might not want to do that in a minute. So for this prisoner, I went ahead and I rolled a 5. What that means is that I can go on any location equal to 5 or less. So now, if I was the first player, I have everything here open. I can go from locations 1 to 5, do whatever I want. So if I want a rope, so let's say I wanted that rope, and because I want to make the whip, or I want to make the nunchucks or the grappling hook because I think their abilities are cool, or because I want to go for certain escape plans, I can do that, and I simply take one of the rope and I put it in front of me. You are limited to a maximum of 7 cards, whether it's materials or completed items in your hand. Now, once you decide whether to put your die out or not, or to roll your die and then put it out, or to not do that, then you have the option of taking the items that you have and combining them together in order to make one of the actual item cards. Or let me rephrase that. Combining the materials to make one of the item cards. You then also have the option of using its special ability, and you can use as many items as you want in a turn, but you can only use each item once. So I could use 3 different items, but each only one time. And then I have the opportunity to escape. But let's get back to that in a minute because I want to talk more about the turns. Now, at the beginning of the game, it's going to be pretty easy for each player just because in a 4-player game at least, because a guard card is at 6, it's not too difficult for every player to just do whatever they want and not get in trouble. So let's just say that each player manages to go out and do their thing, take some materials, and so on. When you get to the second round or the second go around and thereafter, which is that when it goes around the table once and then everyone goes to their second prisoner, that's when things get a little more interesting. So let's say I decide to go with my second prisoner. I roll the die. Now I have a 3, but that's not a 3 for that prisoner. Instead, you are adding that number to your previously rolled number, the other prisoner that you rolled with originally. So now I have an 8. Total, which means that I can go on any space that is equal to 8 or less. So for my blue guy here, that's not a problem. I'll just go to 8, and I'll take a cloth. Not a problem. But now the next player needs to go. They're going to roll. Now he comes up with a 6. So I have to go to 6 or less, but there's a guard on the 6. I don't want to do that, so that player's going to go to the 5. So let's say we go to the yellow player. Now they have a total of 7. They're still okay, but you see how all these spaces are filling up, and there's this one angry, scowling guard who's looking at us, noticing all these people going to these different rooms. So then we get to the green player, and let's just say that, hypothetically, for the green player, I roll a 5. And now I have to go to a 6 or less. Well, the only spot that's available is the 6 with the guard, and that means I'm in trouble. This prisoner has essentially been caught. When you're caught, that die essentially gets removed from the game with that prisoner temporarily. They've been caught, they're in trouble, they're in solitary confinement. You have to spend 2 material cards on your turn in order to free, essentially you're bribing the guard, in order to get that prisoner back. So that kind of sets you back quite a bit, and you don't want that to happen. And then, of course, after your second go-around, you're going to go around again, and each player is going to get a chance to get their third prisoner out. And more spots are going to be filled, and the chances of getting caught by a guard are still just as high as before, because now you're going to have to get up to where you can possibly run into the 12 guard. And then, like I said, at the end of a full round where every player has had a chance to put all 3 of their prisoners out, the guards will rotate and move up a spot, and things will happen all over again. Now let's go back and talk about escaping. Like I said, at the end of every prisoner's turn, they alone have a chance to escape, assuming they have the right items. So let's say that you managed to accrue the right items to do the He Did It escape plan. You needed a whip, you needed a dummy, and you needed the knuckle dusters, the brass knuckles there. Because there were 3 items required for that escape plan, that means I have to draw 5 cards from the escape deck. If there had been 4 items required, I would have only had to draw 4 cards. If I was doing one of the 2-item escape plans, then I would have to draw 6 cards. So that's what I was saying before, that there's a push your luck there, because the more you're willing to prepare ahead of time, the fewer cards you have to draw. And that's a good thing, because what you're trying to do here is not draw fail cards. I mentioned that there's 7 in there and 10 success cards, but that still means that your odds are pretty good that you're going to draw those fail cards. And if at any time you draw 2 fail cards from the deck, even if they're not consecutive, your escape attempt has failed. So let's say I'm drawing 5 cards. There's a success. That's good. There's another success. I'm doing pretty well. Another success. Pretty awesome. There's a fail. Now, here's the thing. When at any point during your escape attempt, as you're drawing cards, and you'll probably have this thought as soon as you draw your first fail card, you may decide to back out. If you decide to back out, you're not going to take any kind of penalty for potentially failing in your entire escape plan. Instead, you lose half of your items rounded up, and then you're fine. You just go back, and in fact, you get to remove a fail card from the deck for having done so, because now it's going to be easier for everyone. You and the other players have learned from your mistakes in trying to escape. But if you decide to press forward and you fail, let's see if I just failed by chance. I did totally fail. Okay, that worked out well for the example. When you totally fail an escape plan and you do not decide to back out, you lose all of your items, and you still remove a fail card from the escape deck, because, again, still everyone's learned from your mistake, at least. You'll shuffle the escape deck back up and put the escape plan back to where it was, so the other players still have a chance to complete it. Or you can as well, if you can get back to that point. But if you succeed, that's the good thing. So if you succeed at your escape plan, meaning that you only drew 1 failed card or less, no matter how many cards you had to draw, the prisoner that you were escaping with gets removed from the game because they succeeded and they're out, and you're 1/3 of your way to victory. You put all of your cards back onto their appropriate stacks, but you have to add a failed card into the escape deck, and making it harder for yourself on future turns and for the other players, because the guards are none too happy that one of the prisoners got out, and they're going to increase their security measures. And that is essentially Jailbreakers, Plan Your Escape. You are trying to get all 3 of your prisoners out of the jail before the other players can, by using your ingenuity and sometimes just a little bit of luck. Now, let's get to my final thoughts.
Well, the first thing that Jailbreakers has going for it is its theme. Now, there have been a few other games that have to deal with the theme of breaking out of jail or doing some sort of heist and avoiding guards and things like that, but they seem to be few and far between, and I think that Jailbreakers definitely saw an opportunity there and took it, and I think that a lot of people are going to respond to that theme. And it's really helped along by the artwork and the graphic design, which is high quality, and it's not, it's kind of cartoony in one sense, but not so cartoony that you don't get a sense of the grittiness of the theme as well. So it actually looks really nice laid out on the table like that. Now, there's a lot of interesting mechanisms in Jailbreakers, especially the dice mechanism, where each prisoner has their own die, and at the beginning you just roll and you can go to one of the different location cards, and it's not too tough to make that happen. But as you use more and more of your prisoners, as the other players are as well, you're filling up more and more location spots, so your options begin to become more limited, and it's actually a danger because you might run into one of the guards, which is really going to set you back and make you lose a turn with one of your prisoners. But of course, you don't have to take that turn if you don't want to, but you can be sure that the other players are going to jump on that opportunity to get into one of those locations of the jail and try to make the most use out of its special ability to get more materials to craft the items that they're going to need to get to use to get their escape plan going. So you definitely want to jump on that opportunity as well. So there's an interesting push your luck element there, but there's also an interesting push your luck element in the escape plans itself and how it works with the success fail deck, the escape deck. Because you can go ahead and go for a escape plan that only has a couple of items, and that's easy, that won't take you very much time, but the chances of you failing, because you have to draw so many cards from the deck, are much greater. But there's a chance you'll succeed because there are more success cards than fail cards, but that is the push your luck element there. Instead, you could take the slow and steady path to get more items and therefore have to draw less cards and hope that you have a much greater chance of succeeding then and hope for the best. But, of course, you could start to go through your escape plan, draw a fail card and say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and stop there. Now, you do have to lose a couple of items for doing that, half of your items rounded up, but you also get to remove a fail card from there, and you might still be ahead of the other players because you managed to keep some of your items, so better luck next time. I think that's a very interesting way to handle the push your luck in this game, while still maintaining the theme as well, because you're trying to escape from this jail, and things are not always going to go as planned. You just try to do it and do your best, but of course, you get rewarded for being prepared. Not that I know anything about breaking out of jail, but I'm just guessing and surmising that that's how it would be. So when you add all of these different elements together, the interesting dice mechanism and the escape deck and how the escape plans work, and also putting together the different elements, the different materials to make items and their special abilities as well, which adds another unique layer to the game. I think there really is a lot here for a lot of different people to like, and at the same time, it's a very accessible game. I think there's enough bite to it, there's enough strategy to keep gamerly gamers involved, but it's easy enough for anyone to learn and to play, for new gamers, for casual gamers, and a lot of people can relate to the theme, especially people that watch true crime stories or like Prison Break and things like that. But at the same time, it is lighthearted, so don't worry too much about that. So that is Jailbreakers, Plan Your Escape. If you want to know more about this game and hopefully consider backing it on Kickstarter, I'm going to have a link at the bottom of your screen that will take you to the official page. You can find out more information. Hopefully consider backing the project. That is Jailbreakers, Plan Your Escape from Cullis Games. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.
Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.